Welcome to the Energetic Psyche, a weekly podcast hosted by yours truly, Dr. Adrienne Campbell, where we talk about real life, challenge assumptions, and explore different ways of being in the world. This week for episode 14, I have Catina Topash joining me to discuss a little bit about her life, her work as a yoga teacher for YogaFit, her work as a sound healer, and the experience of being a co-owner of Breathe at JG's Folly, a bed and breakfast retreat center. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you enjoy. Welcome to the Energetic Psyche. I'm Dr. Adrienne Campbell, your host. This week, I have for episode 14, Perspectives on Growth with Catina Topash. We're going to be talking to Catina about a little bit about her life, her work as a yoga teacher, a sound healer, and the owner of Breathe at JJ's Folly, a bed and breakfast retreat center that I'm holding 2 retreats at this year. It's a beautiful place. So I just want to share a little bit about Catina with you all. Catina is a certified yoga therapist. She's a registered yoga teacher, a YogaFit Yoga Therapy faculty member, a sound healer, a YogaFit Senior Master Trainer, and has specialty yoga training in trauma, chronic pain, nervous system disorders, heart disease, diabetes, back pain, pre-postnatal injury prevention and recovery, positive psychology, yoga for seniors, and other specialty areas. Lots. She knows a lot. In addition, Catina holds over 25 additional certifications, including the American Council on Exercise Personal Trainer certification and DK Body Pilates. Along with her husband, Bryan, Catina owns Breathe at JJ's Folly, retreat center and bed and breakfast in Fayette, Missouri, and is the wellness director at Wilson's Fitness in Columbia, Missouri. Catina is passionate about helping individuals live their best life and empowering them to find their own innate healing and happiness. She lives each day with gratitude and in such a way that brings santosha, Sanskrit for contentment, to her life. Catina, thank you so much for joining me. I am so happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm fantastic. Glad to be here with you.
Awesome. Yeah. So we were talking before this. You have such a breadth of knowledge. You are such a well source, if you will, that I was like, what are we going to talk about? So why don't we start with a little bit about you and how you got to where you're at, and we'll just take it from there.
Okay.
All right.
So thanks for having me again. I'm grateful to be here and chat with you. What got me here is was born, of course. And then I was born in Columbia, Missouri. So it started off my journey here and ended up becoming a musician and music major at the University of Missouri. So that was kind of the beginning of my sound love. Of course, even way before that, used to sit and play guitar and sing with my dad and fun things like that. So just always have had a passion for music and of course movement, have been an athlete in various forms. And when I went to undergrad at Mizzou, focused really heavily on the music side of it and finished up that and went to Tennessee for a bit, moved to Colorado, ended up getting a master's in music in Colorado. And so music was my life and did that for, played in some orchestras and some symphonies and gigs and just whatever. And then my family drew me back here here being Columbia. So I wanted to just spend more time with them. And my husband and I had got married by that point. And so we moved back here and started a family in Columbia and lived in Columbia from 1999 until 2017, which is when we moved here. And during that time, just lots, of course, had 2 kids and went through my own health stuff as far as just, fitness, health in general. But the biggest thing that kind of drove me towards the more yoga and healing path was my mom's journey. My mom, Loretta Wise, was diagnosed with cancer, with pancreatic cancer in, now I'm forgetting, like 2000, it was a crazy long time, 2005, I want to say. So, so young, and she was, in her early 40s. And so she and I together kind of started down this path of well, what are we going to do with this? And at the time, we didn't know how devastating pancreatic cancer was. And so we just were like, okay, well, let's do what we can. So we started I had already been doing fitness and yoga and things, but really started honing in on the therapeutic aspects, the therapeutic benefits of the yoga practices. Because of course, she was doing her traditional Western treatment of chemotherapy and she did all of that too. But we wanted to find a way, not just to try to find a cure, but to help her heal. Yeah. And so that was the beginning. She and I did yoga training together, which is just a heartstring for me to think about that. And fast forward, my mom did end up passing away in 2015, but over 10 years later of pancreatic cancer. Most people don't live past a year. Right. Yeah. So I truly believe that our journey together, her journey through just trying to find happiness and gratitude and healing, helped her to see her grandkids, grow up and all of those things. And anyway, so even after she passed, of course, I still continued down my path. I had already become a certified yoga teacher by then. And fast forward, I went down the yoga therapy path, and I can talk more about that later if we want, but that's many, many, many moons later, I became a yoga therapist in order to, just continue to help people find that natural, their own innate wisdom, their own innate body wisdom and healing through consciousness and through unification to divine and all of those beautiful things. And then along the path, I found a way to marry my two loves, which was yoga and fitness, and then of course sound and music. And so I started to dive into that deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And it's just my favorite thing in the world now is to work with people through energy, through vibration, through sound, through yoga, just whatever I can offer to help them find their own innate healing is what I like to do. So. That's awesome. The fast path journey.
So I didn't know. I mean, I feel like I probably did, but that you went to school in Colorado. Where'd you go to school in Colorado?
Greeley, University of Northern Colorado.
Okay, I know that.
Yeah. Beautiful place.
That's great because I think that Colorado is one of my favorite places in the whole wide world. Yeah, absolutely
magical place. And we wouldn't have left. We were married at that point. We wouldn't have left if it wasn't for family being here, and I had that, especially getting ready to have children. I was like, I have to be home, but.
Well, that's what brought me back here. I was just having a conversation earlier today with somebody about, they were like, why'd you move back to Missouri? And it's like, it's the people. I'm like, I'm telling you, like, I have family here now. I have sisters and I have a nephew, but like, I personally am not a big fan of like the weather. I really miss the mountains, but the community here and the people here, they're just amazing. Like it's really like, I haven't found that anywhere else. And I've lived in a lot of different places.
Yes, you have.
Gotten around a little bit.
Yeah.
So Columbia's got something special going on for it. Yeah. So yeah. All right. So tell us about your, tell us about Breathe, your retreat center.
So I'm here right now. This is Breathe. We were just talking before this about how things come into your life that I've learned my lesson many times, that when I actively pursue and even force things, which I feel like I think I know best and I need and desire, those things don't usually work out as well. But Breathe was not one of those things. Breathe was just this magical, miraculous event that happened. So 2016, really, I'm still teaching there, but I was teaching yoga at Wilson's in Columbia. And one of the students there, we were friends, and I was literally just doing the social media scroll one night, going through Facebook. And this picture of this place popped up. Now, backtrack, I had manifested to my husband, Bryan, that I did at some point in my life want to move into the country, and I needed water. I'm a water element baby, and I need water. but never in a million years had I dreamt of this, nor had I thought it would happen so soon. I was thinking maybe retirement, who knows?
Yeah.
So anyway, scrolling through and saw this picture of this place and was just overwhelmed. Like I couldn't even manifest where this could be. So I just reached out and I said, "Hey, Elizabeth, what is this place?" And anyway, no intention of coming to look at it, or just for whatever reason, I reached out, so curious about it. And it was her family home. Her grandfather, Julius John Meyer, had built the home in 1971. And they, as things happen, things evolve and change and life shifts. So they were selling the place, and she said, "You need to come look at it." And then, of course, I'm a dreamer. I'm a big dreamer. And my husband is the realist balance to me. And somehow I talked him into coming and just looking at it one night during the week. So we did that. And we both fell head over heels in love. We were here for hours, just like looking through the place. And as we drove, well, first of all, the reason for the name, as we drove up the driveway, I said, "Stop." And we looked across the lake, because we're on a 20-acre lake, and it literally took my breath away. And so I always think, those things that take your breath away are just magical moments. And
I just got goosebumps.
I know. Every time I tell the story, I get goosebumps, and I just smile from ear to ear. So anyway, long story short, we were like, how do we make this happen? And it was kind of comical because, yoga teacher here, I think he was personal training at the time. And, we don't make money. We just love what we do. But somehow some crazy bank gave us the money, and so we purchased the place. So we moved in here January 21st, 2017. And I knew instantly that I was a master trainer at the time for YogaFit. So I was like, oh my gosh, what an amazing space to do yoga teacher trainings. I can start to do retreats here. And then the realism of paying the bills, we were like, and let's do a B&B. Right. So, the B&B wasn't like the big dream, but we love it. We love that aspect of it too. We quickly set foot to getting everything going. The story was just so insane of how everything just came together. Like our home, we weren't trying to sell our home. It was this story of a lady walked into the fitness facility one day. We were talking about it. She ended up buying it with cash in hand. Goodness. I mean, we hadn't even listed it yet. Yeah. This home we had gotten it on consignment and, or contingency, not consignment, contingency that almost got taken out from under us. I mean, it was just like piece after piece after piece that was just perfectly placed. So I know every single day, and every time I feel just a little overwhelmed by the sheer amount of work that has to be put into this place. I just, how could you not just feel blessed by the way it's offered so much to us? And we know also that Julius, the gentleman that built the home, we know he was a open house kind of guy. He would let people come in. He took care of people. He helped people. So that energy is so here in this home. It's such a beautiful, beautiful energy. And so for us to just be able to share that with others and watch them just find peace and joy by just simply being here,
right.
Is a joy. So.
Well, I love it. And because we've co-hosted 2 retreats there together, which was amazing. And then, I'll be honest, like when I think about like hosting like the retreats I'm doing this year there, like I was like, okay. But it's more that it's your space that I would be doing it at versus like I have to go hold a retreat, because I just love being in your space. It's like a giant tree house.
It is.
It is. There's literally a tree coming up through the floor.
Right.
The decks are gorgeous. Your lake is gorgeous. Your animals. Yeah. So like it's such a beautiful story of manifestation, and just one of those things where it's like when you get out of the way and you let the universe do what it needs to do, it happens in the most not random, but just ways you never would have seen coming, because the universe's view is so much bigger or spirit's view is so much bigger than ours. Like, it's kind of incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. That bird's eye, if we only could just see just one little tiny bit, but it's best that we don't. Then we can just allow it.
No thanks. Right, exactly. I'm just going to give it up. Yep.
I'll just follow.
Yep, absolutely. So you mentioned YogaFit, and that was another one of the things that when I first met you, I thought was so interesting because it's a different way to learn yoga than what I was used to hearing. So if you could just explain like a little bit about YogaFit and what they do, I'd love to hear about that too.
Yeah, absolutely. So YogaFit is an international yoga teacher training school, and there's a governing body called Yoga Alliance that governs teacher training schools. So we are part of that. And it started back in the 90s. Beth Shaw is the founder of YogaFit, and essentially she wanted to find a way for yoga to fit every body. So especially like the Western body, and how maybe not all yoga practices were really perfectly suitable for everybody, and wanting to offer it in that way. So the teaching that we offer, we offer a 200-hour yoga teacher training, which is the foundation of yoga teacher training. Then we also offer a 300 hours. So combined makes 500. So that's what you see people, I have my 500 hours. So it's 500 hours. And then just in the last several years, we've become a yoga therapy school, which is governed by another entity called IAYT. So if you see the C-IAYT, that means Certified Yoga Therapist through the International Association of Yoga Therapy. So all of those things to just say there's a lot going on with YogaFit. It's come a long way from its inception in the 90s to be, again, worldwide, to not only offer people to get to go and teach, just go teach yoga and share yoga globally, but also to really then dive down that deeper yoga therapy path if that's where people go. And probably what you're kind of mentioning as far as like uniqueness of it is that I'll just say 200. Most 200 yoga teacher trainings, you either sign up for the entire thing at once and go for a whole month and leave your life for a month. And then you walk away with a 200-hour, which is fabulous. But that's not really doable for probably a big majority of people. Yeah, especially if you're in an adult life, you've got kids, you've got jobs, things like that. It's just not accessible to be able to just leave and go take a month off. There are other teacher trainings out there that there's several ways to do it. Like you commit to a year, you go 2 weekends a month or something like that. So the way YogaFit does it is you literally just sign up level by level, and you can do it at your own pace completely. So level 1 is the place to start. And level 1 is a 2-day training. And so you can just sign up just for that 2-day training, go take a level 1 and, sit with that as long as you want. When you walk out of level 1, we ask that our students do 8 hours of karma yoga, which is service yoga. So giving back to community. And that's also a great opportunity then for them to practice teaching. And then from there, they just can continue on and they can keep going and they can take things that fit into the curriculum of the coursework, as well as some electives, so things that they really like. And we've got a vast array of electives and different pathways and things. So that works really well for the student. And it also works really great for me in my situation because I can offer, I can offer any of our yoga trainings within the 200-hour, the 300-hour, and the yoga therapy program. I can take 2 days on the weekend. I can take 3 days, and whatever, as long as people sign up and they come to me, then we offer that training. And so then it's a beautiful marriage between me being able to teach people, which being a teacher is for sure my dharma. It's my purpose in life. So I'm so grateful for that opportunity. But then also I get to utilize this amazing space. People can come here, they can stay here, and especially if they're traveling. So I get a lot of local, of course, but then I do get people from all over the country. So then they have a place to stay in house, and yeah, it's it's magical. And then we have conferences every, we had four this year. And so sometimes I'll go teach at the conferences. This year so far, I've gotten to go to Palm Springs. So our conferences, again, we just offer more of those training opportunities. So, whatever's there, you can choose from, and you can go take it as it fits you. I was in Scottsdale, Illinois in March, and then in July, I get to go to Skokie, Illinois, or Skokie. I just went to Skokie. I get to go to Scottsdale, Arizona.
I was going to say Scottsdale, Illinois. Is that like California, Missouri?
No, get my brain mixed up. Scottsdale, Arizona.
Nice.
Yeah. And then in September, I'll be going to Orlando. For another conference. Yeah. So it's so super fun for me to get to do those things too. I get to teach here. Yeah. I get to travel a little bit, and it's just super fun and fulfills me and allows me to feel like, I'm allowing my knowledge to help others to heal. So it's that ripple effect, that wave effect. Yeah.
And that's how that works in the world. Right. Mm-hmm. That was the thing I thought was really cool when I first heard about it and looked into it, was that it reminded me of like putting together a degree program at school where it's like, I'm going to get a bachelor's degree in this. These are my core classes, but these are the electives I want. And so even though you're going to get the 200-hour, you get to choose the specialty stuff that you want to put into your program. And I thought that was really nice. And like you said, making it accessible so people who work, have a regular day job, have kids, et cetera, and can't take off for a month or, I've seen a couple 200 hours that are like 2 weeks too, which is kind of wild for me to even consider. I know.
I'll just smile.
A nice, right. It looked like a really nice way to accommodate, like you said, not just yoga for everybody, but like yoga teacher training for everybody. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And as part of it, I've gotten to develop some of my own curriculum, through them. So I've written a stand-up paddleboard yoga training. I've written a yoga bar training. And then most recently, I got to write our 100-hour sound healer certificate. So again, just not only do others get to explore their pathways, but I get to utilize that platform to help me just grow in what I get to do too and offer. So that's been really cool.
Okay. So I want to hear so much more about the sound healing because I love your sound baths. But before we do, can you just share what the difference is because with yoga, like I think people are really like hip on the idea of yoga classes at this point, right? Like I think most people understand what a yoga class is and what yoga generally is, even though there's fitness yoga, as I call it, and non-fitness yoga, right? But what's the big difference between like yoga and yoga therapy?
Great question. Lots and lots and lots of hours of training, is one of them, but not always, because some people have tons of hours of training and aren't necessarily yoga therapists. But the yoga therapy path is a set curriculum, and it's typically around 900 to 1,000 hours of actual training time. So curriculum based. And in that curriculum, you're looking at all different things. So you're looking at yoga for the heart. That's why when you made that list, I was like, that's all yoga therapy, yoga for the heart, yoga for nervous system disorders, yoga trauma. We have a huge trauma sensitive warrior program with YogaFit. So all of those different aspects of how yoga can help within specific conditions. And really that stems back also from Ayurveda. So Ayurveda is part of it, which is the sister science to yoga. And so just learning all of the research-based intricacies of how yoga and the tools. And I know you said fitness yoga, which fitness yoga is awesome, right?
It is.
It is. Yeah. Well, and some people, I think so many of us, probably myself included, when I first took a yoga class, it was to get exercise, right? But it's just such a small portion of what yoga is. In fact, asanas, which are the yoga postures, were really only created so that we could sit in meditation easier. But of course, it's gone way further than that. So just taking it beyond the physical body. In yoga therapy, we look at what are called the koshas, which is really the 5 layers of who we are as human beings. So the physical being one aspect, and we call that like our food body, our gross body, food sheath. And then it goes into the pranamaya, which is our energy body, mental, emotional body. The manomaya, the vijnanamaya is the knowledge, the wisdom, and then up into our anandamaya, which is our bliss body. So looking at how do we, there's a kitty. Sorry, she got her way in. Looking at how can we look at all of those things as layers, but not layers. How do we approach that with physical postures? How do we do breath pranayama techniques? What kind of meditation, mental, emotional type things can we utilize? Positive thinking, all the various things, and of course meditation and Ayurveda and all those things. What can we do to help people to find their own innate healing power? Because we know it is within each one of us to have our own healing. And so another piece of it is really looking at it. There's always assessments involved, so it's very specific to the individual. So you come to me and your statement is this hurts or I'm sad or whatever your statement might be. That goes into the initial part of the assessment, which is like a client intake and then an interview session and then many forms of physical postural assessments. I use sound assessments as well and energy assessments, but there's all different kinds so that we can really watch and look at measurable ways to see if what we're doing is enhancing this person's life. What we're doing, meaning what we're offering as guides for them to find their own innate healing. So yeah, that's kind of and it is governed. It's governed by, like I said, the IAYT, which is the International Association of Yoga Therapists.
Okay. So if somebody was going to get a one-on-one yoga session versus a one-on-one yoga therapy session, what would those two sessions look like?
I mean, it could, I don't know exactly what anybody would do yoga session wise, but just let's say going back
with
to
you.
me.
How about that?
Well, I don't really offer yoga sessions anymore, but I have before. So I'll try to answer from that perspective of, I knew mostly about the more general aspects of, here's a couple breathing techniques, like just looking at the general, what are they coming in for? A lot of times people are going in for a yoga session to maybe enhance their own yoga practice, to learn more about the yoga practice, to be what they would consider a better practitioner, which just means understanding it more. But it could look many ways. Usually, and I do that. Sometimes people are like, I just want to learn more about yoga. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's just do that then. But to be honest, we all have stuff. So almost always stuff comes up. And so we can look at, you have this pain here. Well, that could be an indication not only of maybe overuse syndrome, but maybe also because, you're feeling stuck in the past or you've got a trauma here or there or whatever. It's however that energy body, I call it the energy body, creates our blueprint for our physical body. So that, that's where we look at all the other factors then too. And so then it's formulaic. So after they leave their first session, we've created some protocol. We've created a plan. We use SOAP notes, subjective, objective assessment and plan. So I send them off with homework. I use that word lightly because really just what they can do to enhance their own healing on their own time. And then we meet again and we continue that relationship. And really, to me, in my eyes, that part of it is not that I'm going to see you for the rest of your life necessarily, but it's I'm going to see you long enough to where you feel like you have all the tools that you need to find your own healing.
Okay. And I know that in my own practice, so I'm not a yoga teacher, but I do somatic mindfulness. And I've had clients request to just have a somatic mindfulness session with me where it's just us two and me guiding them through a practice. Are there individual yoga sessions that are like that as well? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes people are just like, let's just do yoga. And I just want to do it just me and you. So yeah, that for sure happens. And I even though like there's this part of me that's like, but there's so much more. I always respect what they ask for. Yeah. I might offer like, if you ever want to think about, or consider, I might throw a little more in, but absolutely. If that's what they're coming for, then that's what we do.
Okay. And so then what would a yoga therapy session look like?
So the yoga therapy, again, that's where we would start with client intake. We would start with initial, like that subjective, objective, where I might do an actual physical assessment, where I watch their movement patterns, see maybe where there's physical imbalances in the body. And then every yoga therapist is a little different, of course. Yeah. Some of us, we might use some different types of assessments, like breath assessments, body scanning assessments. There's the Beck anxiety assessment. I mean, there's so many different assessments that we could potentially use to help us just uncover information. Of course, I also use a little bit of energy assessment as well as sound therapy assessments that helps inform my practice. And then once we get through some of those assessments, then that gives us a nice direction. So then we're like, okay, so let's look at big picture, what you're looking to accomplish, and then what my thoughts are coming in and what you're willing to do, on your outside time. So we do all that work, and then they go off for the next week or 2 weeks, depending on how much time we put in between sessions, and maybe report back in, and then we meet again and we look at how the tools that were given, what if they've created any shifts or changes, and then we assess and plan again. So it's just that constant assessment and plan protocol to see what works for them.
And just to be clear, because this is most like sharing information, right? Yoga therapy is not just for like the physical body, but it's also for the mental and emotional body too. It's just another way to work on areas that we feel dis-ease in, and to work on our healing.
Yeah, 100%. Perfect. Perfectly said.
Perfect. I love it. So it's, as a fellow teacher, it's so interesting. I'm just listening to the way that you're describing things and talk about things. You come from a teacher's perspective versus a practitioner perspective. And so as you share, there's just so much more, how do I explain it? It's just a much wider lens. It's not, you do this, this, and this. It's like, well, then there could be this, and there is this, and this. So it's nice though, because I think it gives like a better view at like the breadth of exactly what's what's available.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
sound.
My favorite.
I mean, so my first sound bath with you was at the event at Bluebell Farm. On Veterans Day. It was my Veterans Day present to myself. I was like, for the first time in like over 10 years, I'm not going to go volunteer. I'm going to go take care of myself. And it was so good. Oh my goodness gracious. The yoga classes were great, but the sound bath was amazing. And I've had a few, and this one, and I know it's because of your background in music. I mean, you have a master's in music. It's not like you just went and got a certification and bought some bowls. So, and then you gave us a presentation on it too. And we went into like the details of how sound healing works. And I was like, what? Yeah. It was awesome. So yeah, I would love to hear more about like kind of how that developed and how it adds to your practice.
Gosh, yeah, where to start? Thank you for all that. That was I appreciate all the kudos, and I agree. I think that the fact that I have a music background absolutely helps in on this journey with me. But I also think along with that, I don't think just musicians can do these things. So just want to put, because it's really, like you've said many times, it's the intention, it's the heart space, it's knowledge. So, making sure we understand the intricacies of how specific instruments affect people. And that's kind of what I teach when I teach my sound therapy trainings. But yeah, so I don't even know how many years ago, I was introduced to the yoga of sound. And as you know, previously music is my heart. It's, I love music so much. And I think we all do to a level of innate just connection, right? We all might like different things, but we all know that music makes us feel good. And so we may not know why, but that's okay. And so, so that pathway just kind of evolved. And after I had kind of my first experience with chanting, mantras, singing, that sort of thing, taking other sound baths, and then starting to explore in my own way, like buying instruments and purchasing and getting things and taking trainings and going to other, learning from various people around the country, and even going to India and learning some various things there. It just continued to evolve. And so I knew in my heart that it's healing. So I just really dug deep into the science behind it, because I thought, in the world that we live in, you can say, how does it make you feel? And people are like, great. And some people, that's all they need, right? But not everybody. And I was like, if I'm really going to have any chance at sharing this with the multitude of people, I have to understand how it works. So that's where I started diving into research, diving into my nose in books and audibles, and of course, taking other workshops and trainings and really understanding the science of sound. And so, and that's not to negate or belittle the spirituality and the heart of sound. They're both important. Right. Yeah. And so got all the things. I have, I don't know where you're seeing, but all these instruments, showing some of my stuff back here. I already had a flute, because flute was my master's. So, and it just, going back to idiosyncrasies, like flute is a huge part of the sound palette of this type of healing sounds. So the fact that I'm a flute by trade, a flutist, I'm not a flute, I'm a flutist by trade, was just like, oh, well, that's cool. And I mean, there's stories of flutes, back in ancient traditions. And so that was just like, okay, this is my jam. And started experimenting mostly on myself and my family, because that's what we do. How does this affect you? How does this affect me? And then I was already doing some yoga therapy, some yoga sessions, like you were mentioned, and even personal training. Okay. Doing some of that stuff. So, I would just say, hey, how would you feel if we gave this a go? And so everybody loved it. And we started finding true intentional healing through it. So that's where I just kept going with it. And, and once I had enough time and really testimonials, because I think that's an education, personal education, and enough people to say, this stuff works. This happened and this happened. And I could give you lists and lists of people that I've had the opportunity to, I just, again, think of myself as a guide that facilitates that healing through them, that are like, changed my life, changed, right. Amazing. So I was like, this has to go further. So that's when I just approached YogaFit, or they approached me. I don't remember. There was a conglomeration of thoughts and like, why not? Why wouldn't we do this? And already in the yoga therapy program for YogaFit, we had a class called Sound and Mantra, still do. So that's already in place. So because Nata yoga is the term for the ancient tradition of using sound. And I mean, here's the deal. You saw this in my presentation. In the beginning was the word, right? In the beginning was sound. Everything is vibration. And so that's definitely already a part of the yoga therapy programming. So just to continue to advance that a little bit further. So I wrote a training called Biofield Tuning, which is based on the work of Eileen McCusick. And it's crazy. Like, you go into somebody's aura and their biofield, and you take a tuning fork and you bring it through their field, and you find where there's stuck and frozen trauma. And I always go back to the saying by Goethe, which he says, architecture is frozen music. So frozen sound, frozen vibration. So things that never got to be processed or digested or released from the nervous system standpoint, it's still out there. Yeah. And we may think that we've dealt with it. And we find ways to think that, just to move on with life. Right. But that's a hard conversation for me sometimes where I'm like, okay, I can say, I believe that, or, I found, so potentially there's something in your field, maybe around the age of 20, maybe having to do with this and that. And they're like, well, yeah, this happened and that happened, but I've gotten through it. I'm like, well,
but have you really?
Maybe, but I hear, so it's, you said dis-ease earlier, and I love the word dis-ease and disease. And the same thing goes for dissonance. So if there's a dissonance, which means non-harmonious, those waves are not vibing together, right? So if there's something that's crashing in, creating a dissonance, that's also causing disease. And that's where sound healing can it works, because we're taking vibrations, we're taking pure vibrations, harmonies, and we're allowing them to come into the natural dissonance or resonance, whatever is happening in that person's body. We're creating entrainment. So entrainment's just, I'm it's like I walk in the room and everybody else in there is grumpy and mad, but I'm like super happy, and all of them are going to get happy too with me. Because I've got such a strong vibe. Right. So that's essentially what I try to do with the tuning forks. And then, of course, adding in crystal bowls, sound bowls, all the different Tibetan bowls, drums, chimes, koshi chimes, gongs, all of the flute, all the ancient tradition of sounds that create nervous system responses, that create entrainment responses. And when we bring those into the person's aura, biofield, as it's now called, then healing can happen. I could say that with just of the most certainty. I can't say it will, but I can say there's a huge possibility that it can happen. It's beautiful.
Yeah. I got goosebumps like 3 times while you were talking, because there's certain things that I know, but I don't know the words and science for. And I've come across this a lot in my work when I'm moving through different psychological theories and things like that. And I'll talk to people and they're like, oh, and we're like, oh, right. It's like, it at like a somatic, like soul level. And you just don't have all the like words and sciencey stuff for it, because I don't know, in my opinion, you don't always need all of that to make it be real or helpful. But it can be helpful to have those terms too, in our world. Right. So have you seen, I'm sure the experiments that were done by, he's a PhD, he's Japanese, with ice crystals and water.
Masaru Emoto.
Yes, I have 2 of his books.
Yes.
And I bought them years and years and years ago because, I used to teach electronics, right? So I know electrical theory, and then I went into like human beings, and I remember somebody saying, so that's really different. And I was like, it's not really.
Not really.
To be honest, like I just went from like a machine to a human being, but we're all these different components, and there's atoms and molecules and frequencies, and we vibrate. Like the human body vibrates. We all have a frequency of vibration to us. So the fact that we'd be affected by sound and vibration is like obvious.
Duh, right?
Right? It's just like a perfect example is the way that we feel vibration in our body and whether or not it's comfortable. And when I was living on board ship, so I was on a ship for 5 out of the 6 years I was active duty Coast Guard, right? Well, we have these gigantic diesel engines. On top of that, we have 2 huge turbines, and it's a metal ship. So the entire thing is vibrating all of the time. So when we would lose power and it would become silent, like it's dark, it's quiet, nothing's vibrating, and all you would hear is like the water slap against the hull once in a while. Oh, it was the weirdest thing in the world. It was like you were disconnected from like the living being that had been surrounding you. It was so bizarre.
That's so interesting.
Right? And like how we can feel the vibration from an engine in our chest and how that affects us, how it makes us feel not just physiologically or somatically, but emotionally. Like those things impact the way that we feel emotionally and the way that we think. Sorry, I get very excited.
No, I do too. I do too. I love it.
So cool.
It is. Well,
Yeah.
and it goes from like ancient tradition to like you're talking about, everything it can be explained.
Yeah.
Does it have to be? Yes, in our society, some, but, and that's where like L fields and T fields and all of those things. It's like, yeah, our emotions are vibrations. Our thoughts are vibrations.
Right.
Everything's a vibration.
Right.
Everything.
Yes.
So how do we think that all of these individual organs and cells and chakras, like everything is frequencies. And so bringing other frequencies in, and again, we're starting to see that like EMFs and how are things, food is frequency, food has a vital energy as prana. Yeah. So when we take in things that are not optimal, they can create dissonance in us, like all of it can. So yeah,
I remember
crazy.
I remember the very in-depth conversation about happy bacon. I think
happy bacon.
I stayed at your place.
I do serve happy bacon.
You do. I know. I think the first time I stayed there, I was vegetarian, and I was like, oh yeah, I don't eat bacon, blah, blah, blah. And then we had this huge conversation about like where your bacon came from and like how the pigs were treated and raised and like blah, blah, blah. You were like, if there was going to be happy bacon, this would be like the happiest bacon. And I was like, gosh, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And not saying we have to eat meat, right? But if we do, you want to eat meat that's happy. You want to have happy piggies.
But even vegetables, because I look at different strawberries in the store. I was just looking today and I was looking at these strawberries and I'm like, these are like the saddest strawberries I've ever seen.
And they probably were.
Right. And they're red. They look pretty, right? But like they were just sad. I don't know how to explain it, but I was just like, no, not gonna buy that. Yeah. Food has vibration. It comes from a place and it was surrounded by something, like the experiments of the elementary school with the plants, where they were really nice to one and the other one, they bullied and it died.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that crazy? That's a really interesting one to see, and just visible. It's there in form. I show that often when I talk about even just our words and our our language and things like that, but definitely from a vibrational sound standpoint. And in the ancient yogic traditions, they used mantra. Mantra is energetically charged sound. And so they use that at every stage of the process of creating our food, right? Chanting, and you could use praying. You could say, however you want to say it, but chanting mantra, praying over the seed, over the cultivation of the seed, over the water that goes into it, over the harvesting, over the cooking. There's a song for creating your meals, and everything comes with its own vital energy, its own resource. And that's when we look at organics and all of those things, is because again, it just goes back to vibration. It's all vibration.
Yep. And even like on a super simple level, cooking and singing while you're cooking, right? And smiling and having good conversation. When they say like this food was made with love, I mean, I'm Italian, so I'm over here like this. Like this food is made with love. It's because, like, I don't think there's very few things that I can do like simply where it's like, this shows you I love you. Like,
absolutely.
Feeding a person makes my heart so warm. I'm like, if you eat my food and you're like, oh man, I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah.
It's such a serving thing to do. It's so funny because that makes me think of two things. One, Ranjana Hans, who runs Raw Roots, she's a good friend of mine. She always says, if you're going to cook angry, don't cook. You just don't do it. And I'm like, okay, sometimes I won't cook then. And then the other thing is, people always ask me with opening up a bed and breakfast, oh, did you always love cooking? And have you, and I'm like, no, I not a day in my life did I enjoy cooking, but now it's just exactly what you just said. Like, to think that not only am I creating this beautiful space for people, or it's been created for them, I'm not creating it, but it's here. And then I get to be part of like creating food, nourishing. And I love to create nourishing foods, for breakfast, and then serving it to them. And how many times do we do that? Like, if you go to a restaurant, and I'm not saying all restaurants, but it's probably like, right? Whereas I'm very intentional and very purposeful with how I think about the food that I'm serving people, and trying most of the time to serve it with a loving heart. And then I know whether they know it or not, I know they feel it, and it's just such a service place to be able to do things for people.
Because I mean, I know I swear I'm not just saying all of this flattering stuff because you're on the show. I say it to anybody, but like, I even you posted a picture of food at your place, and I reposted it and was like, "This is what we're going to be eating at my retreats. Look at the food."
Yeah, it's so pretty.
It's important. It's important.
It is.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Oh my gosh. Okay. So we have only about 10 minutes left because, time always flies. So tell us about, so we know we have Breathe at JJ's Folly. So it's a bed and breakfast. People can rent rooms. Tell us how that works before we move on to your trainings.
Yep. So we have a website, breathe@jjsfolly.com. And anytime we're not offering retreats or trainings, the home is open to book rooms. We have 6 different rooms. One of them has actually a full kitchen and little living room area. So we call that the Sun Suite. Side note, on the yoga side, all of my rooms are chakra based. So there's elements, earth and water, air and sound, all that fun stuff, and colors to match and everything. So you can just rent a room. We don't serve breakfast during the week because my husband and I work. But on the weekends we serve breakfast, and they can just do that. And then we've had weddings here. We've had family reunions, girls' weekends, boys' weekends, whatever. So it's just open and available for as long as, the schedule is available, then you can just book.
Yeah. And I highly recommend you go to her website and take a look, because there's no amount of us describing it that can actually help you understand what it is. Like, it's beautiful. The lake is beautiful. There is literally a tree growing up through part of the floor in the house, not in a tacky way, in a very beautiful, nature-esque, classy way. And there's animals, goats, chickens, dogs, and a mini donkey.
Miniature donkey. Yeah, we got all the things.
Yeah, so it's just so cozy and comfortable, and so go check out the website. Definitely take a look. Even if you're looking to just escape for a night and you're in Colombia, it's a beautiful place to find that energy for sure. And then classes. What classes do you have coming up?
So lots and lots of things. We talked about that. I was like, oh gosh, there's a huge list. So this weekend, Friday is yoga. This weekend is YogaFit trainings. So I have YogaFit Yoga Bar on Friday. I have Ayurveda on Saturday, Sunday. And even though these are yoga teacher trainings, anybody can take them. And Ayurveda is, like I said, the science of how do we create healthy lifestyle and healthy habits. So anybody can do those things. Next week on Thursday at 5:00, I'm doing a sound bath at Wilson's Fitness. So there's that. I teach every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Also at Wilson's, I teach bar. I teach a radiant yoga. I teach a hot yoga. I teach an aerial yoga. I teach a yin yoga. So you can find me there as well. And all through the summer, I've got various yoga teacher trainings. They're all listed on the YogaFit website and on my website. And so I've got the sound healer trainings coming. I've got a warrior kids training, looking at childhood trauma. I know. Wow. Heavy stuff. And, but on the flip side, I've got paddleboard yoga coming too. So we've got all the things there. So all that's there. So one other thing this month is, I have a good dear friend up the road, Bluebell Farms, like you mentioned, Jamie and Derek Bryan. Yeah. So we are combining forces, and along with a few other entities. And on the 27th of April you can either choose to do a 1-day retreat, which will all be at Bluebell, and I'll be providing part of the practices for that. And she does everything just right. I mean, the catering, everything is beautiful. And then along with that, you can just do the 1 day, or this time I'm offering also a full weekend package. So you can sign up for the Saturday, and we're very close in location, and you can sign up for Friday through Sunday. So you get 2 nights stay, Friday and Saturday night at Breathe. We'll have some practices, some different, various fun things we'll be doing, like some some sound baths, some chakra work, some Tai Chi, some, just various things. And I'll be serving breakfast on Saturday and Sunday. And we'll be doing, I think we're doing a moon circle. I'll have to look. I can't remember exactly. But anyway, all kinds of really cool, fun things. And you don't have to worry about, leaving the area. You can stay right here in Fayette and stay Friday to Sunday, take a little weekend getaway and do a whole retreat. So
nice.
Those are the most upcoming things.
Okay. And then if they wanted to just find a list of where all your trainings and stuff are, where could they go?
So training's probably the easiest because I need to update my website. I'm not going to lie. Email me at info@breathe@jjsfolly.com. And you can also look at the YogaFit website, yogafit.com. That'll give you your trainings.
Okay.
And then my website, breathe@jjsfolly.com. So all those can give you lots of information.
And I'll put links to all of that in the text underneath the podcast. And then I have my 2 retreats at your space.
Yes.
The first one's in July, and that's energy healing for mental health. So that's going to be a Reiki certification, but focused 100% on yourself. So giving yourself Reiki, dealing with symptoms of dis-ease, anxiety, depression, insomnia, self-esteem, etc. And also going step by step through the entire chakra system and learning how we process different traumas energetically and how you can deal with that. And then Catina will be doing a sound bath for us one night and a yoga practice for us one morning. And your darling friend that you mentioned that owns Raw Roots is going to be catering dinner on Friday night. So that'll be amazing.
It's a treat.
I'm excited. She's such a doll. Oh my gosh, she's so sweet. Yeah. So that'll be in July and I still have space. And then the second one in September, I'm half full already for that retreat in September. And that's a Reiki Master training. And again, Catina will be doing a sound bath and a yoga practice for us. So yay. And
I'll give a little plug for you, Adrienne, because I went through your level 1 and 2 Reiki twice. So you can do it more than once.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in I don't catch everything the first time. So so just finished up my second round of that with you this weekend. It was lovely and magical. So definitely join us for that.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm so glad to have had you as a student, not only once, but twice. Our relationship just keeps evolving. And I have to tell you, I don't think I knew that we had started working together so soon after you bought Bryan.
Yeah.
So you rolled right into that place because when we met and I went there for the first time, I never would have thought it had been, a year, I think, a year and a half. So that's crazy. Yeah. You belong there. It's a good thing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel that way too.
Awesome. Oh my goodness. Okay. So we'll go ahead and the last thing that I always ask everybody is if there was anything you wanted to share so that everybody knew it, what would it be?
That yoga is and sound is for everyone. And I hear people all the time say, oh, I'm not flexible or I can't do this or that. And even the trainings, I highly encourage people to come try yoga classes with me and with others. There's so much variety, so many different types. There's chair, there's everything. So, and again, it is mind, body, spirit. So it's not just a pretzely. I'll never forget the first time I taught at the VA, they were like, I don't do this pretzel shit. I'm like, neither do I. We're not doing that pretzel shit. So, so it's everything. You can do yoga in a bed. You can be bedridden and do yoga. So just really encouraging that. And I would love to talk all things yoga because I know that my dharma in this world is to help others to learn as a teacher and as as helping them find their own healing. So come see me.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Oh, so glad I had you on the show. Okay. Thank you so much. Everyone have a great week. So nice to see you. And hopefully you'll check back in next week for episode 15. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us on The Energetic Psyche, a weekly podcast that live streams every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We hope you'll join us next week, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Have a great day.